seems to me that moving from our conditioning to a higher level doesn't happen in a day or two. And for me, this week, next month, next year, I'd like to follow a path, knowing that it doesn't just fall together. So my question is, what's your recommendation of the path? Is it meditation? Is it a mentor who would teach me? Is it reading books? Or is it just all those things wherever I get the good things from?
To understand oneself through watching what is happening in one's consciousness. In relationship, the consciousness is manifesting itself. The reactions are coming up, right? In relationship with people, with nature, with books, with things, when desire arises, So normally we have all kinds of ideas that this is good, this is bad, I should not be like this, I should be like that, and we use our will to try to be good, and we use our will to suppress the bad feelings within us. This is not the process of understanding oneself. This is only using willpower and controlling one's actions. It will not change the way you feel. The feelings will keep coming the same way, and you will have to control again whatever you control today. Tomorrow, 1000 tomorrows you will control, because so long as that hatred is arising, you will have to suppress it. That's not a religious life. The deeper question is, why does it arise? The anger. Can I end it? In order to end it, you can't end it by decision that I should not be angry. It doesn't work. Your decision doesn't work. But you can learn about it. By watching it, not thinking about it and moralizing and saying this should happen, that should not happen, this is correct, that should not be correct. That is still using thought, analysis. All that is still colored by your conditioning, your sense of morality and all that. Don't use thought as the instrument, because thought is not a reliable instrument for this learning about oneself. Use the capacity for observation and awareness, and don't interfere with the phenomena. Just watch. Not easy, because we are deeply conditioned to do this control. And we have been told, be like this, don't be like this, we feel guilty and all that kind of thing happens. So we have a lot of fear of all this, and we react from that. If you can be passive, don't bring in yourself into it, your will into it, just watch. Watch the anger, how it arises. Don't yield to it. Don't also suppress it. Just watch. Like you watch a phenomenon which you want to understand. If you want to understand how why does it rain, or why does the sun move and so on, you watch the phenomenon. You learn by watching. You want to understand your child, you watch your child. How does he sleep? What does he like to do? And so on. You have to watch with a little affection, tenderness, in order to just observe and learn from observation. Can we learn about our consciousness in that way? By just observing what is taking place without condemnation and without elation. Because that's a habit. That's the habit of the thought process, the conditioning, that it wants to suppress or it wants to feel good about something. Don't let that happen. Just watch. Because my motive is to learn, not to change it, not to suppress it, not to change it. I just want to learn about it. See, I'll put it this way. Just as there is causation in nature, which science studies, what causes the sunshine falls on the seas, the water evaporates, then the wind takes that water vapor and makes clouds, the clouds condense and form rain. I mean, this is just step-by-step causation. All that is studied, and that is what we call science. There is causation also in our psyche. There is a cause for that anger to arise, and learning about the cause and the effect is learning. Not saying this is good, this is bad, it should be there, it should not be there is not learning. It's interfering with the process. So when you want to learn, you just have to let things happen. And you watch it, of course you watch it with a learning mind, which means an inquiring mind. What is actually taking place? You want to learn about it. So you watch how it begins, how it mounts, what all is involved, what reactions are taking place, and eventually it will reach a peak, it will decay like everything else. Everything else arises in life and then decays. This will also, just stay with it, of watching it all the way, and you will become aware of what is the process by which this whole anger distorts you from within and how it arises. That learning transforms. That learning brings about the change, not your will and your suppression does not bring about change. That is the difference in the approach. When you want to do it, when you do it with the idea that I must become free, you are seeking a result, and that's already become egotistic. It becomes a desire process. You are desiring to be free of anger. That desire process is again ego in it. But the desire to learn is not egotistic desire. The desire to become is an egotistic desire. It's very subtle. So can you just do it for the sake of learning, not for the sake of becoming anything?
Probably not, but I'll give it a try, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as you try it, the change happens. They try to understand, don't try to become, is what one is saying. There is trying to learn about something, whatever. I mean, how do you learn about your garden? You have to sit down, go into the soil, plant the seed, watch it grow, and you learn about it. Anything. You have to work. How did you learn bicycling? You have to get up on the bicycle and try, and after some time it comes. You learn about it. And you acquire the balance of it. But here we are in a hurry because we feel guilty. I am angry. I want to get rid of the guilt, so I don't want to watch it. I want to suppress it. Put it under the carpet, right? It's a nuisance. I'm treating it as a nuisance. I'm saying treat it as an opportunity to learn, not as a nuisance. Doesn't matter that there was violence, there was anger. I have to learn about that. Learning about oneself is to actually learn how your consciousness functions. Just learn. And the learning itself will bring about the change. Not your effort doesn't bring about the change. Effort meaning the effort of the will. Not the effort to understand is there. So there is such a thing as right effort, and egotistic effort is not right effort. But non-egotistic effort is right effort.
Thank you.
Exactly. It becomes I don't know, but there is great joy in this. You see, it's a challenge. And in this, learning has its own joy. Just as physics, learning of physics gives joy, learning mathematics gives life, learning a sport gives joy. Any learning produces joy. And that joy is enough reason to do the learning. No? In the same way, there is a joy of this learning about oneself. You are discovering things about yourself. You are the entity closest, the person closest to me with whom I live is this chap called Krishna. And inside this consciousness is working. I need to understand this far more than I need to understand why the sun shines. But our education thinks that is far more important. To learn about the sun shining or how the rocket goes to the moon is more important than learning about the way our body functions or our consciousness functions. And so we remain completely ignorant of. Our education doesn't teach us about what is right nutrition. It doesn't teach us about how we should raise our children. It doesn't teach us about right kind of exercise to take. It doesn't teach us about our consciousness, whether love and attachment are the same thing. So we remain completely ignorant about ourselves. But we know a lot about Paris and what Nero did and what does, is that very important? How many hours we spend learning what happens, what is the economy of Brazil and so on, so on. But you don't know anything about yourself.
Which means we would know about the world too. Once we learn ourselves, it's the world.
Krishna here said it's like reading the book of life.
Yes.
You are the book, he says. You are the book, and you learn every chapter by studying the book. To study is to watch and observe and study, not study from the psychology book. That will give you ideas, and they are correct ideas. The psychology book, they are scientific. So what they are telling is true, but it will be only knowledge of that truth. That is not perception. So it's not self-knowledge. The book, the knowledge which the psychology book will give you or the biology book will give you is not incorrect, but it is knowledge, it is not self-knowledge. How do you go from knowledge to self-knowledge? That is the bit which is pathless, and that comes like this. Since it is pathless, you just watch and learn from watching. And you will sense the danger of it. When you sense the danger of it, it will drop. Otherwise it doesn't drop, because you think that, I think that it is good for me to work out of self-interest because I get more pleasure and I get more profits. That is good for me. But this chap called Pope says we should not have self-interest, you should not be selfish. Therefore there are two things going on. I feel guilty because the Pope thinks I should not be, but actually I want to be. And that's the conflict between the two. One idea which is put there by the Pope, and the other which is your own desire from within. So then there is conflict when you try to conform to some ideal or some idea given by somebody else. But when you learn and there is an actual change, then there is no conflict. But we have been trained into conflict. We have been taught that you should practice virtue. You are violent, but you should be non-violent. So you keep on trying to be non-violent, but actually the process of violence is going on within you. So you remain violent, and you all the time have now a second problem, that of guilt. You have two problems now, violence and guilt, both. So anger is also coming, and guilt has, an added problem has come, guilt. So that's not the way to go. And that's why it has not worked. All these religions have told commandments that this is virtue, this is vice, practice virtue, avoid vice. You are not able to do it. Because it's not a matter of decision, it's not a matter of will. Learning what is a matter of decision and what is not a matter of decision is self-knowledge. Not saying you should never use decision. There are places where you have to use decision, where decision works. There are places where decision has no role. How will you operate in that area where decision has no role? Your will doesn't work there. It's in that area that you have to learn, watch and learn. But if you have to make a garden, you take a decision, you get the tools, you learn the thing from somebody, and you can achieve it, and you will make a garden. But you can't become non-violent in that way. You can't create an ideal of non-violence, then get a guru, and then he teaches you some technique and you become non-violent. This process doesn't work.
Can I ask you one more?
Yeah.
If two people today, one is sort of ego-centered and one is non-ego-centered, are watching one of today's political ads that they both know is deceitful and destructive, it seems to me that the one who is ego-driven gets angry and does something about it, supports some candidates that are not deceitful. What does the other person do?
He keeps away from that political process. Doesn't let himself get corrupted. Because when you are without wisdom, you are good because you don't have power. When you have power, you will turn evil because power will corrupt you. So it is safe to have power only when you are incorruptible. Find out how to become incorruptible. That needs self-knowledge. How to be incorruptible. Then go for power. Otherwise you will be the same. No, you can see this actually happening. You saw in Russia that Boris Yeltsin stood up on that tank and opposed the dictators and so on, and very remarkable man. When he became the president, he became just the same as the other guys. So what's the difference between the rebel and the one he is rebelling against? He's the same human being with no wisdom, no understanding. So when he goes there, he will also get corrupted because that other man got corrupted for the same reason. But you also have a man like Mandela, who remained in prison for 27 years, comes out without any bitterness against the white man. And that man has made a tremendous difference to South Africa. Otherwise South Africa would have had civil war and between blacks and whites. But because he came out without any bitterness, find out how does a human being remain 27 years in prison and come out without any bitterness or hatred. That needs tremendous wisdom. There is deep wisdom in that man somewhere. It's not easy to do that. Right? Human beings are capable of it. Similar thing was true of Gandhi. Gandhi made a tremendous difference to the way the India got independence. Almost without any bloodshed, without any fighting, we got independence. After getting independence, we had a lot of bloodshed. That's different. The process of getting independence was not through war. Just passive resistance, saying, I will not cooperate with this, but I won't fight you, I don't hate you, and so on. So he brought about a new tool in politics too, how you can resist politically also without losing your religious quality, without hatred. He said the British are our friends. We love them. We are only objecting to their rule here. It's unfair, unjust for them to rule here. That's all. But we don't hate them. So we won't fight them. But we won't cooperate with something because that's wrong. What's going on is wrong. I won't cooperate with something wrong. I won't fight it, but I won't cooperate. It's brought about a new way, completely new way. So the human being is all that. It's always the religious mind which has brought about deep transformation in society, not this reactive mind, not the rebellion. The communist rebellion has failed now. They started with very idealistic things. Marxism is so idealistic. You can't find fault with it. But you put all these ignorant human beings, give them that Marxist philosophy and put them in the government and they make a mess. So you can't solve it without wisdom. It will not work. And that's what the sages have said. Without love, it will all turn into ashes. It's not a question of whether you have communism or capitalism or socialism or this party in power or that party in power. It's a question of whether there is wisdom in the human mind there. In other words, put a fool into any system and he'll make a mess. I must end with a joke. The joke is, it is so difficult to make anything foolproof. It is so difficult to make anything foolproof because fools are so ingenious.